goes. North and South Korea on alert over loudspeakers blaring propaganda.
This has been in the news recently. The story goes, South Korea was with a speaker spouting propaganda over the border into North Korea, the DMZ, which is a 4-kilometer buffer zone. I am not aware how many North Koreans live on the border or how effective such an attempt to get a message over to another country is. North Korea had enough of it. They shot a single bullet, as far as I know, at the speaker, not at anybody. And South Korea retaliated by shooting dozens and dozens of rounds of ammunition over into the North Korean side. You and I went over to our cousin's house the other night. We got there, and the first thing out of my cousin's husband's mouth when we get there is, hey, I heard North and South Korea might be going to war. Do you know how much this pisses me off?
I've been hearing this for the last 6 years.
This was the argument when I was 2002 going to Korea for the first time. That was 13 years ago.
We've been hearing it non-stop.
There's something about saying that North Korea is going to attack or that North Korea is a threat and putting it in the news that makes people want to click on it when you go to CNN.com or any of these websites that like reporting fear, or they like putting fear into you. There are millions of people in America that when they go on the computer and they see that North Korea, not South Korea, or they put South and North Korea in the title, did something, anything, you get a bit fearful. As if your household is under threat because North Korea might do something to South Korea, even though it's never gonna happen. That's never gonna happen. Never, ever, ever, ever. And this is why. North Korea is not a dictatorship. North Korea is actually a monarchy, okay? There's proof in this because the 3 people that have been leaders of North Korea since 1953 when North and South Korea had the armistice and the ceasefire, even though they're still technically at war, has been the same family members, all men, last name Kim. Kim Jong-un being the leader of North Korea now. He's a king of North Korea, okay? If this, I know you, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's more than a kingdom though, because he's a king, but he has absolute supremacy over everything, and he's made himself into like godlike status.
The only reason I even say king versus dictator is it doesn't matter what his label is. You can say he's a dictator or a king, or you can call him anything you want. They're not actually ever going to declare war and fire on South Korea first, because that guy, Kim Jong-un, the king of North Korea, will lose his fluffy life up there, okay? He gets to have filet mignon, a prime rib, whatever he wants every day for the rest of his life, as long as he doesn't ever attack South Korea. So why would he? That's really what they're doing. He gets to invite Dennis Rodman up to his friggin' mansion in the north, and he can't do that anymore if they start war. They're never gonna do war. And let me tell you something else. South Korea doesn't want unification. If you talk to the people in South Korea from their heart, I would say greater than 50% of them would say yes, they want to unify with North Korea. But South Koreans at this point are a smart people just like anybody around the world. And when they think of the actual logistics, like the financial responsibility that they would take on and bear if in fact North and South Korea were to unify, 80+% of South Koreans will tell you, no, we don't want to unify with North Korea. Fuck no! Do you know how much that's gonna cost? And I've talked to thousands of people at this point about this.
Yeah, and we've actually talked to people that have owned businesses. We've talked to people who are in political structures there. And yeah, that's pretty much the general consensus. The big thing that I would say is it would take the South and the US, because the US has a huge influence in South Korea, to want North Korea, to want to take over North Korea. And they keep provoking North Korea by doing big giant war games and blasting stuff over across the border because they can.
That's such a good point you make. It is really the United States and South Korea provoking North Korea, and that is not the story that you're reading in these news articles. What you're reading in these news articles is geared towards you being fearful of North Korea doing something, when in fact it's really the other way around. Now, we used to live in Suwon, right down the road from an air base, and you could see the airplanes almost on a daily basis doing routine flies, taking off, and you know what direction they're heading? Every time north. And they go north, and then they go northwest, which is towards China. But they're always flying directly over North Korea. Now, North Korea, as far as I know, is not flying their Air Force over South Korea. I don't even think South Korea would allow that.
No, and I don't think that they actually fly it over North Korea, but I think they go as close to the border as they can to just try to provoke North Korea, because right now, North Korea is a buffer zone between South Korea and China, and they want to keep it that way, but they want it to be unstable. They want North Korea to be unstable. They want South Korea to be unstable as well, so that they can keep putting money into the military and keep having the American presence there.
Well said.
So there you have it, our thoughts on the North and South Korea conflict, because we've talked about this plenty with our friends and our family and people we're close to, but we really haven't done this online.
Every time I tell somebody that North Korea is never going to attack South Korea, people look at me in bewilderment usually, or they just are confused because they don't understand what they're reading in the newspaper versus what I might be saying, because they contradict each other. And you don't have to believe us, or you can just take my opinion, her opinion, our opinion, however you like. I'd like to know what you guys think. Are you fearful? Do you read the news? What's your information about North and South Korea and their relations, and what you've heard recently in the news? Drop a note down below and click the like button on this video if you appreciate these types of Hallyu Back news videos, and click the subscribe button if you haven't already. That's it, we're out of here. Hasta luego.